Hello, Jordan Chariton live status coup. It is Monday, July the 15th, 2024 in the United Corporations of America. I'm still sick, so bear with me. Not like, uh, dying sick, but bad cough still, this COVID stuff, even though the American media and politicians have effectively wiped it out of the conversation. I'll tell you, it's not the most mild thing. I had a pretty damn high fever and have a really bad cough that won't seem to go away, particularly, not surprisingly, when I'm laying down at night, which is screwing with my sleep. But I still got COVID. My daughter, 7 days later, still is COVID positive. Unbelievable. And my wife, we all had COVID at the same time. But there's a lot going on, so I figured, as best as I can, I wanted to come live on the vice presidential pick, the Trump assassination attempt, and many other things. There's too much going on, and status coup. We're the little engine that could. We don't have a large staff here. So I didn't want to go dark today. I wanted to go live. So I'll be live for as long as I could deal with it. But I am taking care of myself, so don't worry about it. Now, smash that like button, share this live stream so we can get more people out. The more people that press the like button, the more people that will see this. Also, we are now, I believe, what is that? 2 weeks away? Wait, let me do the calendar here. Is it 2 weeks? Yes. We are now 3 weeks away from the release of my book, which I over the last couple days have been reading just to read it. Kind of forget that I wrote it and read it. And I heard that some people have already got it who pre-ordered it. And I've gotten some good reviews I've gotten some good reviews from viewers. So I'm happy to hear that. But my book will be out August 6th. And I will be in Flint August 6th. I'll announce where we'll be doing a book event in Flint on August 6th, the day my book comes out. So I hope as many of you Flintstones can be there at the book event. That's at night on August 6th. And we're planning some other book events as well. Pre-order the book. You can still pre-order the book. Available now. Barnes & Noble online, Amazon online, all that stuff. So where do we start? The assassination attempt heard around the world. The vice presidential pick of the fake populist, JD Vance, who has stepped aside and nodded his head as the people of East Palestine, Ohio, continue to get sicker. He has done nothing for the people of East Palestine, Ohio, which we will go through in a little bit. I think we should start with this assassination attempt. I'm just going to give you my honest thoughts, which you're not hearing much in the corporate media. But I'm just going to give you my honest thoughts because that's kind of how I roll. We've heard a lot. We've heard a lot over the years about we just need to unify. We just need to unify as a people. We got to come together. We heard it after 9/11. We heard it after Gabby Giffords, the congresswoman at the time, the shooting of her, and she got shot and fortunately was not killed. We've heard it after so many heated events, Charlottesville. We've heard it after, the list is too long about how we all need to come together and unite. And the media, who is very, very influential in polarizing us also. Well, I do not condone, obviously, an attempt on Donald Trump's life or any politician's life. We shouldn't be moving our political problems to violence. However, Donald Trump is one lucky son of a bitch. If that was about a couple of millimeters off, or if that bullet went a couple millimeters a different way, I think Donald Trump would be in a coffin right now. I'm glad it didn't go that way. With that said, we don't know at this point. We don't know the motivation of the shooter. He is reportedly 20 years old and was badly bullied. He, from reports, was a registered Republican, but he doesn't really have a major social media footprint that we know of. Could have been a really disturbed, bullied kid who just wanted to be famous. I mean, it could be that. But let's not, the media seems to be whitewashing Donald Trump's role in political violence. I'm not saying Donald Trump is responsible for this guy trying to assassinate him. We don't know. I don't know what caused this guy to do this. Clearly, there was a massive security breach. But, in the media, it seems like they kind of are, trying. It's like MAGA Braveheart at this point, and everyone's rallying around Trump. I even saw one article. We are all MAGA. I think was in the Atlantic or something. Give me a fucking break. Give me a break. Do you think if there was a near assassin, if there was an assassination attempt on Biden or any Democrat, that the Republicans would react the way the Democrats are now? And this is not from a Team Blue kind of guy. I'm no Democrat. I am not a fan of the Democratic Party. I think Biden is going to lose, and probably in a landslide. And frankly, he deserves to lose. With that said, there is no one more responsible for the politically heated, politically violent, and politically polarized environment that we live in today over the last decade than Donald Trump. That is just objectively true. Donald Trump pre-2015 came up in politics by creating the birther lie that President Obama was not born in Hawaii, which expedited the death threats that Obama had already gotten as president. That's who Donald Trump is, remember. He concocted this bullshit that Obama was not born in Hawaii. Okay? Donald Trump started out his presidential campaign calling Mexicans rapists and drug lords and murderers and all this. Donald Trump winked after white supremacists carrying tiki torches in Charlottesville became violent and killed somebody, Heather Hyatt. He said there's good people on both sides. Donald Trump, I covered event after event, rally after rally in 2016. At his rallies, he was telling his protesters, punch him in the face at protesters that were removed from his rallies. Take his coat, put him out in the cold. He implored the police, don't be so nice when you throw those suspects into paddy wagons. Just happened to be a lot of unarmed black suspects. He has not so subtly alluded that things might get a little violent if I lose this year. So again, two things can be true at the same time. I am not, of course, we're not encouraging political violence. I am against what happened with Trump. I would be against if somebody tried to assassinate Biden. I'd be against if somebody tried to assassinate Pelosi. That's because I'm a good person, and we should all be good people. I think they're all war criminals. I think they should all be in prison. I think they're all corrupt, but I stop there. But let's please stop this bullshit kumbaya that's going on in the media right now. We all have to unite, yada, yada, yada. We are united. You want to know? We are united. We've been united for 40 years in this country. When I say we, I mean Wall Street, the politicians, and the media. They're very united. There is unity in America. It's among the elite. It is among the corrupt. It is among the special interests that have purchased our government, including Peter Thiel, by the way, who's a billionaire Christo-fascist. And Tina is going to go live tomorrow. Tina Desiree Berg. She'll have a lot more on Peter Thiel and how he rose JD Vance to fame and basically single-handedly got JD Vance into the Senate. But we got plenty of unity in this country. It's among the very forces that are screwing you. And when I say screwing you, I mean all of you. If you're a conservative watching, you're being screwed by Wall Street, the politicians, and the media. And when I say the politicians, that includes Donald Trump and JD Vance. That includes them. They're all screwing you while pretending to be out there for the working Joe. I tweeted this out earlier. As of last year, the top 1% owned more wealth than the entire United States middle class, whatever's left of the United States middle class. And instead of getting us to turn on them, they have gotten us to turn on each other. That's the brilliance of this psychops that has gone on, particularly in the height of partisan media. They have gotten, yeah, sure, we disagree on issues, but they have gotten progressives, conservatives, neoliberals, libertarians, everybody to hate each other while they are screwing us from the front, from the back. They are screwing us economically. They are screwing us on rent. They are screwing us on Social Security. They are screwing us on healthcare. They are screwing us on climate. They are screwing us on the planet. The list goes on and on and on. They are screwing us. But they have fooled you into thinking, no, it's the red team screwing you. It's the blue team screwing you. It's them screwing you. Because there's really no red team or blue team. Sure, there's differences. There's only one team, and it's the green team. So the bottom line is this whole, yeah, it would be nice if we could all be united. But that's never really been a thing in America, unfortunately. But as, Trump goes up there and pretends he cares about unity this week, he doesn't. As the Democrats pretend, yes, it would be nice if we all come together. They are united. And I'm not saying this election doesn't matter. It does. But what I am saying is until we get money out of politics, the only thing that, whether it's Trump, Biden, yes, there will be differences. But the fundamental problem with the country, the fundamental problem with the system is not whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. The fundamental problem is our government has been purchased. Our government has been purchased. There's the list. There's the chart. And that's like tails off at 2020. That's the red line. Top 1%. See how I said they're very united. That's the unity we need to talk about. Because part of the reason we have this political violence, part of the reason somebody like Donald Trump could have gotten into office in the first place is because you're talking large percentages of the country. The biggest voting bloc in this country does not vote. Non-voters are the biggest voting bloc. They have become apathetic and disenchanted because nothing has changed for them. Things have gotten worse for them over the last 40 years. So many people in the deindustrialized Midwest voted for Trump. It didn't matter that he was a billionaire. It didn't matter that he had no record of populism or helping the average Joe. They voted for him because he went after the establishment and the elite. And 40 years of neoliberalism had destroyed so many communities throughout the deindustrialized Midwest. And Trump said, I'm going to bring your jobs back, this and that. And then they got swept up into his cult-like presence. And if you watch the RNC, it looks like a cult to one man. But the bottom line is, I would love unity. I would love for everybody to love each other and sing Kumbaya. But we're not going to have that until we as a people start organizing economic boycotts against the ruling class. I'm not talking about violence. I'm not talking about assassination attempts. None of that, to be clear. I'm saying they're all hoodwinking and lying to you, and that includes Donald Trump. Colin, did I miss anything?
I think that covers most of it.
Am I being too shall I say heartless, or is all this kumbaya talk a bunch of baloney? And the media, who doesn't seem to want to mention the obvious, that Donald Trump has been stoking political violence for the last decade.
Well, also, if it becomes a precedent that if there's an attempted assassination, then criticism of you politically is not allowed, then we might see a lot of fake assassination attempts just to basically get a free pass to the presidency. Of like, it doesn't matter. We saw that on Twitter of certain people saying, "Oh, because of this, I'm no longer going to cover anything critically or do any political coverage." It's like, no, that's the we don't just give up on the political system because a president survived an assassination attempt.
And and by the way, listen, I'm not trying to be what's the word? I'm not trying to be lacking empathy because I don't know what it's like to have an assassination against me, thankfully. And obviously he was shot at. But if you're trying to cool down the temperature, I probably would not, after dodging a bullet and after the bullet grazing my ear, I probably would not pump my fists in the air screaming at the audience, fight, fight, fight. I don't think that's probably going to cool down the temperature. But Donald Trump is probably the luckiest son of a gun out there because he's got a fetal position current president running right now, who in an Oval Office address last night could not get through that Oval Office address without I think it was less than 10 minutes, and he butchered it throughout. There is no excitement on the Democratic Party end. Young people have fled Biden because he is funding with a blank check a genocide on Israel, a genocide from Israel on the Palestinian people. Black voters have been leaving Biden. Latino voters have been leaving Biden. And I think independents, not because of Trump was almost assassinated, but I think independents, we have selective amnesia in this country. And because the media seems now to want to soft pedal what Trump has really done, I think independents are going to say, you know what? Yeah, we're not, we wouldn't want to invite Trump to our child's christening. We wouldn't want, Trump to come, to show and tell at our child's elementary school class. He's not a profile in courage, but you know what? He got shot at. He's cooled down his language for a couple minutes. Maybe we'll get the businessman we thought we were going to get, the constructive businessman we thought we were going to get. If the election were held today, it would be a historic landslide for Trump. But to be clear, there is threats with Trump, and we should not, keyword should not, because there was an assassination attempt on him and we feel bad about it. We should not just forget that this is a man who said, I want to be dictator on day one. Maybe he's joking, but underneath the joke, there's truth in it. He has joked while he was president that he would like to stay in office indefinitely, longer than 2 terms. I don't know if he's fully joking. He has gotten a Supreme Court to basically rule he could do whatever he wants and commit whatever crimes he wants. Unironically, soon after that immunity ruling, soon after that, literally this morning, his appointed judge in Florida that has been delaying this classified documents case for him for the last year, dismissed it on legally absurd grounds, which lawyers across the board have condemned. I think it's going to be appealed, and I think I think it's going to be appealed, overturned on appeal, and I think that judge might be removed. His Supreme Court also, with the Chevron decision, which has not gotten a lot of attention, literally just gutted federal agencies' ability to regulate. This is a major quicksand we're in here. That's not to say, hey, go out and hold your nose and vote for Biden. You vote for who you want. It's not for me to tell you who to vote for. But I would not be doing my job if I minimize that there is a threat of Trump, particularly now that he might have a God complex after this close call. And he is a megalomaniac narcissist. I think beyond sociopath, I think he's got some psychopathic tendencies based on everything that's happened over the last 10 years. And after this close call, and now the spineless media, because they're too afraid to ruffle feathers and point out, well, he kind of fomented most of this hate and normalization of a violent environment, i.e. January 6th. They don't want to talk about that now. So, oh, look at that. We might have a guest too. Hold on one second. Pop in. Colin, an East Palestine resident, might be coming on. All right. I am live now, so click on that when you can. If you can use your computer that has a camera, great. Colin, when she comes on, just test it with her because I haven't had a chance. So I want to move on to JD Vance. JD Vance, I covered actually his Senate race. I went to an event in Ohio in 2020. We all know JD Vance was a never Trumper. In 2016, he said a lot of nasty things about Trump. Might be America's Hitler. I'm a never Trump guy. Never liked him. Terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be a cynical asshole. Cultural heroine. Noxious and reprehensible. This is what he said in 2016. Can people change? Sure. That's a whole lot of changing. That's a whole lot of changing. But I want to read this article from The Guardian, and then we're going to get to his role on East Palestine, Ohio. JD Vance is a right-wing troll disguised as a populist. He could be our next vice president. So this was written before it was announced that he was picked as vice president. All right. People think they know Vance because they know his narrative, growing up in poverty in Appalachia and making it to Yale Law School and Silicon Valley, only to then turn into political champion of blue-collar folks. Is he a political champion of blue-collar folks? Josh Hawley might have more impressive credentials, Yale and Stanford, but only Vance has spawned a Netflix series. Vance has perfected what on the right tends to substitute for policy ideas these days, trolling the liberals. Mobilizing voters is less about programs, less about a real legislative record. Vance has none. His initiatives, like making English the official language of the U.S., are just virtue signaling for conservative cultural warriors. Rather, it's to generate political energy by deepening people's senses of shared victimhood. The point for the rightist trolls is not that Democrats have all the wrong goals, but that they are hypocrites who say one thing and do another. Vance faults Trump's opponents for pontificating about the rule of law, but in practice only caring about power. An update of the limousine liberal slogan for an age of right-wing autocracy. Few others would try to impress readers of the New York Times with the invocation of the Nazi leader Carl Schmitt, who in the 1930s claimed that liberals were either weaklings or prone to betray their own ideals. As with so many self-declared right-wing champions of the working class, economics isn't ultimately where the action is. Much more than factory floors, elite campuses feature an increasingly feverish MAGA imagination. Vance has declared universities the enemy and asserted that the closest that conservatives have ever gotten to successfully dealing with left-wing domination of universities is Viktor Orban's approach in Hungary. Tina could tell you tomorrow, but Viktor Orban is one hell of a fucking fascist. So the fact that JD Vance is, wink-winking at Viktor Orban, not a good sign. The reality is that Orban has simply shut down entire academic subjects which conservatives don't like. No more gender studies, and handed over Hungarian universities to cronies. He also managed to chase out the country's best school, Central European University. When pressed, Vance redescribed his Orbanism as giving taxpayers a say in how their dollars are spent in education. A startling admission that politicians should be in control, and of course, a blatant contradiction with the free speech pieties Vance allies in Congress have become so good at weaponizing. How the hillbillies of Vance hillbilly elegy will benefit from removing Judith Butler from reading lists at Harvard is anyone's guess. By the way, if Vance thinks that taxpayers should have a say in U.S. education, can we please have a say in the military budget? How about that, if we want to be consistent? Because I think that would be well more important than having a say in the education. Then, like so many faux populists, Vance talks the anti-elite talk, but walks the walk of what observers rightly call plutocratic populism. slapping ever more tariffs on China, promoting the fossil fuel industry in the name of helping the heartland, deporting people. Whether these policies actually happen is an open question. But not a word is said about the promises Trump is making, likely to implement further cutting taxes for the wealthy and corporations, deregulating such that companies can dump even more toxic waste, including into the pristine parts of what Trump supporters like to call real America. And by the way, if he is such a populist, why did he co-sign a bill with Marco Rubio earlier this year that is anti-union, against woke unions? If that's populism, we're in trouble. But to me, and Tina is going to get a lot more into JD Vance tomorrow. Tina will be live. She's going to be going through a lot of the conspiracy theories happening with Trump's assassination attempt, JD Vance, etc. But to me, all you have to do is look at East Palestine, Ohio, and Western Pennsylvania, and to see what JD Vance has done or not done, to know where his heart is, to know what he would do as vice president or potentially president. Because as much as we want to talk about Joe Biden and his cognitive decline, Donald Trump is 78 years old, and it's been reported Donald Trump's diet is a steady diet of cheeseburgers and Diet Coke. And he has had heart issues. So it is not beyond the pale that JD Vance could become president one day, soon, if Trump is reelected. I want to show you this clip if you've never saw it, because this should have been front page news, and then we're going to have a guest on from East Palestine. This should have been front page news, but the media just moved on from East Palestine like they did Flint and so many other things. Scandalously, the NTSB chair, the chair of the National Transportation Safety Board, she testified that Norfolk Southern, a multi-billion-dollar railroad company, unnecessarily and intentionally detonated toxic cancerous chemicals over East Palestine, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania. We now know through reports that toxic plume went to as many as 16 states. I have COVID right now, so that's why I'm coughing and not sounding great. But when I'm feeling better, I'm going to have a toxicologist on who has thoroughly studied this. It's a lot worse than we even thought we knew. JD Vance, in a hearing, let's hear what JD Vance had to say, that he acknowledged that Norfolk Southern seems to have done this intentionally and recklessly to open up the rail lines quicker so that they didn't lose money. And then let's hear what the NTSB chair had to say. Play it, Colin.
I won't ask you to speak to motivations here, but when you have an unnecessary, uncontrolled burn that poisoned a lot of people, that then led to rapid transit of train traffic, a lot of people, including me, are wondering, did they do this not because it was necessary, but because it allowed them to move traffic and freight more quickly? And if so, that is an extraordinary thing that I think requires a lot of further work from this committee and from others. But we will stop there because I see my time is up. Thank you, Chair Hamady.
May I add something to that?
Please.
Senator, it's even, I would say the factual information in our docket shows that Oxyvinyls was on scene and providing information to Norfolk Southern and their contractors on the 4th, 5th, and 6th. They informed them that polymerization, they believed polymerization was not occurring and there was no justification to do a vent and burn. Rightfully, Norfolk Southern's contractors said, ruled out hot tapping and transloading because it would have been a potential safety issue for their employees, but there was another option, let it cool down. It was cooling down. We know for a fact that when that pressure relief device went off, that it had to have been above 185 degrees. Later, much late, over the course of 22 hours, that tank car was cooling, not to mention the other 4 tank cars that were only between 64 and 69 degrees. So Oxyvinyls was on scene providing information to Norfolk Southern's contractor who was in the room when the decision was made and when advice was given to the governor of Ohio, to the incident commander. They were not given full information because no one was told oxyvinyl was on scene. They were left out of the room. The incident commander didn't even know they existed. Neither did the governor. So they were provided incomplete information to make a decision.
Yes, go ahead, Senator Vance.
Oh, your mic.
My line of questioning, I just want to be clear here, is not a criticism of the incident commander or of the governor. I think it's a criticism of the people on the ground who provided inadequate information. And provided inadequate information, I think, to the great detriment of the community on the ground. This is extraordinary work by your team, but this is a really, really troubling set of circumstances. This town very well may have been poisoned to facilitate the rapid movement of freight, or at the very least, it was poisoned for reasons that we can't identify. That should really concern every single person on this committee.
Well, I don't know. If I was a senator and represented Ohio and I had evidence that a corporation intentionally poisoned, his words, my people, I might call for criminal charges or even an investigation. Joining me now, Christy Ferguson. She lives in East Palestine, unfortunately, right above a creek in East Palestine that has been widely contaminated. Your home, which I've interviewed you at, is chemically contaminated. You've been sick. So many of you are sick. I am obviously not going to blame everything in East Palestine on JD Vance, but he is a U.S. senator, and now he could be a heartbeat away from the presidency. Am I missing something? Has he called for a criminal investigation into Norfolk Southern?
No.
Go ahead.
No, he hasn't called for one. We've been waiting. Charges need criminally charged. There are other entities along with Norfolk Southern that needs criminally charged. JD Vance was wonderful in the beginning with coming in, sending his assistance or help, and then all of a sudden we don't hear from him. And we ran into one of his at the NTSB hearing, but we've never heard anything from them since. And this is still very serious, and we have been forgotten once again.
And to people who are coming to this late, and you might remember the headlines, but you don't know the story in full because the media just stopped covering this. East Palestine, Ohio is right on the border of Western Pennsylvania. So when we say East Palestine, Ohio, we're talking about a whole region, not just this small area. Western Pennsylvania, people are sick.
Yes,
there's reports that this plume of toxic chemicals went far north all the way to Canada. And when I say sick, I was just there for the first time in April. I got sick within 2 minutes in somebody's house, blistering headache, feeling delirious. When I was on your porch outside, I felt pressure under my eyes. People are having strokes. People are having seizures in East Palestine, bloody noses. I've talked to people who are passing poop. We know people have peed out blood. We know people have tingling in their body, tingling in their lips, burning on their scalp. People have gotten cancer now. I can't directly do cause and effect. However, a man got double breast cancer and had to do a double mastectomy. It's pretty rare in men to get breast cancer. Vinyl chloride, which they blew up 5 train cars of vinyl chloride, causes lung cancer, rare liver cancers, leukemia, not to mention all the byproducts, because it's not just vinyl chloride. You have dioxins, which are very, very dangerous chemicals. You have formaldehyde, carbon dioxide, hydrochloric acid. If you just go to East Palestine and you're there for, particularly now in the hot weather, I mean, you cannot avoid, in some places, you are going to, residents have described to me, and you could describe it, feeling like they're drunk from the chemicals. Yet there's almost been this kind of like psychops. Oh, well, Norfolk Southern will put a park in. Norfolk Southern will pay for an Easter egg hunt, a couple barbecues. They'll put out a settlement for $600 million, which is totally inadequate. But reporters aren't really reporting it on anymore. And senators, I've talked to residents who, you're lucky if you get JD Vance or Sherrod Brown's office to respond to you within a few days. Tell people, not just Vance, but what are the symptoms people are still having, and what is the help you are not getting?
Okay, we still don't have our homes tested by the EPA. It was contractors of Norfolk Southern, and as you listen to the NTSB hearings with Jennifer Homendy talking about their own testing using store-bought vinyl chloride to basically get the results that they wanted, is how I took it. So all of a sudden, that's questioning all the tests, and the EPA still has not stepped up, and no senator, no president, no one's made them and told them, you need to start testing these people's homes. I still can only be in my home an hour max, and the tingling in my tongue and in my lips, the burning, it's still there. But they're making me go into my home to clean it out so I can be forced into the VAP program, because if I don't sell my home, they won't pay for our relocation any longer. So it doesn't matter that their contractors asked for the recommended for that home to be torn down. They won't produce the document. Senator Vance, I would like him to ask for that document. I'd like him to go to the command center with me to get that document. If you've not forgotten about East Palestine, come to my house, please, and help me, because there is a lot of people that need relocation. They do. They need out, and they're getting sicker by the day, and they're being forgotten more by the day, and nobody's helping.
What I find very concerning is, at the end of the day, this seems very, I mean, not that you were involved, it seems almost identical to what was done in Flint. They were telling residents who were showing up with brown water jugs, oh no, it's just visuals, it's not bad for your health. While they're telling you, I mean, literally, politicians and the media have said, oh, the EPA has even said, oh, it's just a coincidence that you're getting all these symptoms. We're not finding any of these chemicals, even though independent testers, you've had Scott Smith there a lot, you've had other folks, they have found elevated levels of dioxin. They found elevated levels of vinyl chloride. I broke a couple weeks ago that the EPA detected vinyl chloride and didn't tell anyone. Where was JD Vance on that? I mean, I reached out to his office. I said, here's my story. Here's the text messages. The EPA found vinyl chloride in the soil, and they didn't announce it to anyone, and they're confirming it. I got to tell you, I find that, I talked to some residents about Vance possibly being chosen. They were, not that they think he's done a good job, but they were cautiously optimistic. Oh, well, if he's going to be the vice president, if Trump gets elected, maybe they'll do more. But I see no evidence in him doing more if he hasn't done more now. And I have seen, the timeline seems he started doing less and responding to residents less as he was clearly auditioning to become Trump's vice president. Do you kind of feel like actions speak louder than words here? He and the other politicians they're hearing from us. They should have been here way more, and they should be demanding not just charges for Norfolk Southern, but permanent relocation for those that need it.
Yes. Yes, at the very least, you've let people set in that chemical for this long. At least get them out now. It's way overdue. If there's people not having issues and they want to stay, I understand that. As long as they know the risk, let them make their own decision. But some homes were more heavily affected by it, and those people need out. It's like they're being held hostage in their homes, not only by Norfolk Southern, but by our government, because our government could help. They could step in. They don't work for the people anymore. It doesn't seem that. It seems like Norfolk Southern calls the shots. And that's what I don't understand. And that's what is hard to hang on to the hope when you've got a couple handfuls of community members fighting them at a more persistent rate than what our federal government is in the EPA and even the state. I don't hear from Governor Mike DeWine either.
Right. Well, he's at the RNC today, and he's giddy that Vance was chosen. But when the NTSB chair literally testified that Norfolk Southern literally withheld information from the governor, withheld information, did not tell the governor that the owner of the chemical cars are saying, you don't have to detonate these chemical cars. They're not going to explode. He said nothing either. My last question for you, I think that so many in America, it's hard to keep up with the crises because, like, look at everything going on. You got multiple wars we're involved with. Several we're funding. The former president, an assassination attempt, major decisions by the Supreme Court. I mean, it's just people's heads are spinning right now with everything going on. But I want to boil this down. Think about, if you're watching this or you're going to see it, what would you do if your town was literally nuked? I'm not being dramatic. They nuked this town with toxic chemicals, and over a year and a half later, you're trapped in the chemicals. The chemicals are still there. The people are not lying. And I can tell you, because I was there, the chemicals are there. I got sick. Lewis, who reported there for us 5 times, has been sick there. My cameraman got sick there. Residents call me all the time. They're getting sicker. It's not in their head. It's not, psychosomatic, or whatever they say. What do you want people to know? Because I feel it was already allowed in Flint and normalized there. And if it gets normalized here, I mean, this train, figuratively, is coming to a place near you next, because the Supreme Court just basically gutted the ability of regulations to regulate. Excuse me, the agencies to regulate. Not that they were doing a good job anyway, but if it's normalized here and we let politicians and the media pretend, oh, the chemicals are gone, it's all in people's heads. I think that is scary for the rest of America.
Yes, very much. I tell the rest of America, you can help by standing with us, by calling the networks, by asking them why CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, why they're not covering the residents. Maybe it's advertisement. Maybe it's funding. I don't know. But this should still be on the news. This is very much still affecting people. And call your officials, because if you don't, pack a bag, an overnight bag, and keep it by your door, because in the middle of the night, you may have to leave your home from a derailment and never return. So you better make sure that you have medication, everything, because we never dreamt of this. I'd lived in that house all my life. There's no reason that my 82-year-old mother is scared that they're going to force her back into that home. There is no reason. She should have had a home already replaced by them and then do whatever they wanted with hers. Don't let these stories go unspoken. Send in donations for Status Coup and things like that to keep them covering these stories, because there's not many out there that's doing it. So put the pressure on the other networks, even if it's your local newspapers, ask them why they're not putting the full story out, and be ready to leave your home.
What will be your message? Because East Palestine's mayor is going to be speaking on night 3 of the RNC. Obviously, Vance is going to be speaking the last night of the RNC. If we could get this to go viral, what will be your message for the vice presidential nominee now? If he's in the White House, he has a lot of power on what could be done to help the people of East Palestine. What would be your message for Vance?
Ask the residents, unless there's a sudden change with our mayor acknowledging some health symptoms, and I would be very happy if he did. We'll see how this and what he speaks about, but you really need to reach out to those that are speaking about it to get the full story on it, because some people aren't having issues and some people want this to go away, and they're not talking about the community as a whole. They're talking about the community that wants to see things get back to normal and wants to see the town thrive, and they're not talking about what's going on with all residents.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chrissy. Once
Thank
I'm a little better, I do plan on coming back there too. So we will stay on it.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
You take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And I also want to play this clip because I think it says a lot. And again, this is not all about JD Vance. He is not responsible for what happened in East Palestine. And there's a lot of blame to go around for essentially leaving these people to die. That's what's going on. They are leaving these people to die. And if you don't think that matters because you don't live there, trust me, it matters, because if it comes to your community next, it might not be a railroad where you live. It could be fracking. It could be coal mining. It could be a plastics factory fire. It could be BP explosions. Whatever the source of the contamination is, if they're going to slowly let these people die and lie and gaslight, if they're going to lie and gaslight that this is all in their heads and there's nothing wrong and we're not finding any chemicals, we're not finding any contamination, what do you think they're going to do if it happens to you? What do you think they're going to do if it happens to your family? This is the playbook for how they're getting away with environmental genocide across the country. My book that will be out on August 6th, We the Poison, exposing the Flint water crisis cover-up, it basically lays out in full evil detail how they got away with it in Flint. And I promise you, there is a whole lot in this book that nobody knows about, even my most avid viewers. There's a lot of new information and bombshells in the book. But what's revealed in this book, I fear I'm going to be writing a similar book about East Palestine with similar details, because it's the exact same playbook they're using in East Palestine that they used in Flint. But I want to show this clip because I think it shows what kind of person JD Vance is. Lewis, who reported for us there 5 times, one day he was there in February for the 1-year anniversary, and he saw JD Vance. So he went up to him and he asked him, "Are you going to call for an investigation into Norfolk Southern?" Let's take a look.
Do you think anyone should be held criminally liable for the decision to detonate those cars? A resident I've been speaking with said that they spoke with the former Vice President Al Gore at one point, who thinks that something could be criminal there. but the ultimate decision to detonate the cars seems like it was unnecessary.
Well, the NTSB report is going to come out soon. One thing I'd say, and I should have mentioned this earlier, is it's really important that we not have a federal settlement with Norfolk Southern before the NTSB report. It's like, why would you try to memory hole and prevent discovery on an accident before you even have the accident report?
Right.
Look, we'll see what the NTSB report says. My strong suspicion is there were a lot of mistakes, whether they're criminal mistakes. I got to see more evidence before I can say that. See you guys.
Thank you.
That happened before. That conversation happened before the NTSB chair testified in front of Vance that the company intentionally and unnecessarily detonated these cars and hid from Governor DeWine as they were trying to convince Governor DeWine to bless them blowing up these cars of toxic chemicals. They hid from the governor that the owner of the chemicals on the car was repeatedly telling Norfolk Southern, there is no risk of an uncontrolled explosion. You just got to let the cars cool down. They did not tell the governor that. So the governor was under the impression, because Norfolk Southern just wanted to get that train track open, wanted to get the rail tracks open because they didn't want to lose money. It was all about money. So let's just sacrifice this small town in flyover country. He said, I need to see the final report. You saw the final report. It's been out for weeks. He said, I need to see the evidence. The NTSB chair directly told you the evidence. And Vance, in that clip I played, said, it sure seems like they might have poisoned this town on purpose. Yet he doesn't even call for a criminal investigation. I wonder why. I guess it wouldn't have looked good to the donors while you're prostituting yourself to be chosen as Donald Trump's vice president if you're calling for criminal prosecution of a multi-billion-dollar railroad company. I guess that wouldn't look good. So to hell with the people, Mr. Hillbilly Elegy. To hell with the people I'm supposed to care about, the downtrodden in the deindustrialized Midwest that he wrote that book about. By the way, we haven't even gotten into this guy is a Manchurian candidate for Peter Thiel, a billionaire tech billionaire. Tina will talk a lot about that tomorrow. Peter Thiel has, I think, spent over $20 million to get this guy in the Senate and his whole political career. JD Vance would not be a senator and certainly wouldn't be chosen as vice president nominee without Peter Thiel. The corruption is so deep and disgusting and rotten in this country. But the media is not going to mention any of this. I guarantee you, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, New York Times, Washington Post, they're not going to mention that JD Vance has, other than maybe showing up in the beginning after this disaster, has basically left the people to die. And I reached out to his office at least 5 times saying, hey, are you going to call for even a criminal investigation after the National Transportation Safety Board basically told you that a railroad company intentionally blew up cancerous chemicals over a small town in your state just to open up the tracks quicker? Are you going to call for an investigation? I'm not even saying charges. Just call for an investigation. They didn't get back to me. Neither did Sherrod Brown's office, Democratic senator running for re-election. Not to mention Ohio Governor Mike DeWine. Not to mention Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey, Pennsylvania Congressman. God help you. You in the audience, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, if you're in the wrong town at the wrong time, if you're in the wrong city at the wrong time, if you economically are poor, the working poor, working class, and a chemical mushroom cloud explodes over your town, good luck. Good luck. Let me read some super chats. Tony, $4.99. I fear the media helping Trump win again. The book reminds me of the early days of your time reporting. Thank you, Tony. Tony got my book. He pre-ordered it and is reading it now. Look forward to hearing if you like it. The first couple chapters are more of the setup. It gets really fucked up. I'd say 100 pages in, shit starts to go wild. Bahamut, $5. Do you think Trump would have still picked Vance had he lost to Tim Ryan? How do you think Kamala will fare against Vance in a debate? Love Status Coup. No. If Vance wasn't a senator, I don't think Trump would have picked him. I don't really think it's about how Harris versus Vance will fare in a debate, because a vice presidential debate is not going to get the 50 million viewers that the presidential debate got. Harris will be fine. She's not going to be, anything to write home about, because she, to me, is just politically awkward. I don't really think the vice presidential debate will matter much. I think Trump is going to moonwalk faster than I think Vance is going to moonwalk faster than Michael Jackson against a lot of his policies. However, Vance has said he is okay with the national abortion ban. So Trump putting him on his ticket is not the smartest thing, because the abortion issue is one of the only things the Democrats have left going. And Trump, who's old and has had health problems, just picked somebody who has said, I'm okay with the national abortion ban. So expect Kamala Harris to go after him hard for that, for sure. Lee, 20 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Extremely generous. For those of you that don't know, Status Coup runs on your support. We don't have any funding from Peter Thiel or any of the other corporate swine, corporate vultures in the Democratic or Republican Party. No corporations are funding us. Our funding comes from you. So if you can, please support us. StatusCoup.com/join. John Farina has covered at this point 60, well over 60 ceasefire protests, student ceasefire protests. He covered another protest live last night. He has been consistent for us. We have covered more than anyone, any outlet in America, more ceasefire protests. We have not let this story die, because there is still a genocide going on in Gaza. We have covered East Palestine more than anyone. We have covered Flint more than anyone. And we have plans for other stories once I am currently still on the tail end of COVID, if I'm sounding a little out of it. And if I'm discombobulated at all, it's because I got COVID. And despite them saying it's just nothing and it's the cold, but it's a pretty fucking bad cold. I had a pretty bad fever, and my throat is still on fire, and I have a cough still. And my daughter is still sick after a week. So it's still pretty bad, COVID, despite them, telling you it's nothing. But we do have plans for getting back out there on the road. We will be on the ground at the DNC. John Farina will be there. I will be doing a marathon, several days show from a studio with special guests. We can't announce it now, but we already have some pretty big guests lined up for our DNC marathon, which we'll be doing, I believe, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of that week. So August 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So John will be on the ground in where is it? Chicago, and I'll be here in the studio. We're also I'm going to be going back to Flint soon for my book, but we also have some other things we're working on now. So please support us. StatusCoup.com/join if you can. StatusCoup.com/join if you can. And again, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Tomorrow, Tina will be live. She will be going in depth on Conspiracy City, on all the conspiracy theories that are hatching now after the Trump assassination attempt. Also more on JD Vance, particularly the Peter Thiel connection. She's also going to get into the Democratic Party, because let's not forget the Democratic Party. I don't know if you have the Titanic image. The Democratic Party currently is sinking us on that Titanic with Captain Biden. Really taking us all down with him. It's bad. And I apologize. I know it was in the headline, call us, but what can I tell you? I got COVID. I've been on for an hour, and I'm under the weather, so I'm going to skip the calls for now. I'll try to take your calls later in the week, but the more I talk, the more my throat hurts. So I wanted to go live today because there's so much going on. Not going to take your calls today. Tina will be live tomorrow. I'll try to go live Wednesday. And if I should be feeling hopefully a lot better by then, could take your calls then. But thank you for watching. We will probably have another video tonight. A montage of John's protest coverage last night, where again, the violence is not coming from the pro-Palestinian protesters. It's coming from Zionist Jews screaming and harassing and encircling pro-Palestinian Jews. John showed that last night as they chanted "bad Jews" at the pro-Palestinian Orthodox Jews. But apologize for not taking your calls. Hope you understand. I'm not feeling terrific at the moment. But we'll be back at it tomorrow. And we just passed 193,000 subscribers. So I think we're officially can start the countdown to 200,000. So if you have not subscribed yet, make sure you press that subscribe button, click the bell for more notifications, spread this channel to everyone you know. You don't have to be a hardcore lefty. Everybody should care about water. Everybody should care about corruption. Everyone should want a YouTube channel that calls it like it is, calls out the corrupt Democrats, calls out the corrupt Republicans, calls them all out, and is not team blue or team red, but is team you. We are not team blue. We are not team red. We are team you, the worker bees of America. Thank you for watching. And please, if you haven't pre-ordered my book, there's still a chance. Pre-order We the Poisoned now. You could pre-order it on Barnes & Noble's website, Amazon, We the Poisoned, exposing the Flint water crisis cover-up and the poisoning of 100,000 Americans. Hope you're liking it, Tony. Hope other people that have already gotten their copies are liking it. We'll see you back here tomorrow.